November 4th, 2025, 5:15 p.m., San Juan International Airport, a McDonnell Douglas M. D-11F, tail number N259UP, was ready for takeoff, carrying encrypted satellite modules, essential medical supplies, and military-grade electronics worth $73.4 million bound for Colombia. Yet the crew remained uneasy. Their route would pass through Venezuelan airspace, a corridor that had seen a sharp surge in aerial thefts in recent months. What they didn't know was terrifying. The La Sombra del Orinoco cartel had secretly installed cameras and listening devices aboard the aircraft. Their plan: intercept, seize, and sell the cargo on the black market. Minutes later, 40 armed operatives launched 5 Russian-made 9K-38 Igla missiles. Within seconds, the aircraft was gone. The U.S. response was immediate and overwhelming. Operation Iron Response was activated. 2 CH-47 Chinook helicopters carrying 25 U.S. Navy SEALs took off from Curacao. The USS Liberty D DG-108 armed 4 Tomahawk missiles for launch. Would the U.S. Navy be able to stop the hijacking in time? Or would the multi-million-dollar cargo jet fall completely into cartel hands? Let's uncover what really happened next. November 4th, 2025, 5:15 p.m., San Juan International Airport, Puerto Rico. The evening sun was sinking behind the mountains as a McDonnell Douglas MD-11F cargo jet sat silently on the industrial freight ramp of San Juan Airport. Tail number N259UP. Operator UPS Airlines. Destination Bogotá, Colombia. A 1,060-mile journey carrying $73.4 million worth of essential cargo, high-value electronics, satellite communication modules, and humanitarian medical equipment bound for U.S.-Colombian joint operations and disaster relief programs across South America. Inside the aircraft were 20 personnel, a veteran 3-member flight crew, and 17 logistics and inspection specialists. The ground crew moved with clockwork precision, inspecting flaps, hydraulic lines, and turbine intakes. Every bolt was checked twice. Engine number 2 recorded a turbine temperature of 1,250 degrees Fahrenheit, and hydraulic pressure remained steady at 3,000 pounds per square inch. Through the intercom came a crisp voice. Departure in 12 minutes. All systems green. In the cockpit, Captain Daniel Reese, a 24-year aviation veteran with 11,200 flight hours, reviewed the route one last time. His finger stopped on a red-marked zone, the Venezuelan corridor, a notorious stretch where cargo theft had surged 26% this year. He exhaled slowly, turned to his crew, and spoke quietly. 5 to 10 minutes through their airspace. We stay silent, low, and fast, like ghosts. But the crew didn't know their mission was already compromised. 2 surveillance devices, a micro-audio recorder hidden beneath a vent and a pinhole camera tucked into the cargo bay lighting, had been transmitting sensitive data for over 72 hours. Cargo manifests, crew schedules, even radio test chatter, all siphoned and sent to a cartel base 30 miles east of La Guaira. There, 40 armed men from the La Sombra del Orinoco cartel, ex-soldiers turned mercenaries, were mobilizing. Their arsenal: 5 Russian-made 9K-38 Igla missiles. Their record: 3 hijacked cargo jets, 0 failures. At 5:25 p.m., the final checklist cleared. Fuel load: 141,000 pounds of JP-1A. Weather: clear. Cargo seals: verified. Engines roared, generating over 180,000 pounds of thrust. The runway lights flickered to green. 3 minutes remained before takeoff, and before Venezuela's night would ignite. 5:28 p.m. Venezuelan airspace, altitude 14,000 feet. As the MD-11F climbed out of San Juan and rose into the misty Caribbean sky, its 3 engines roared at full thrust, pushing 180,000 pounds of cargo and steel toward cruising altitude. Just 3 minutes after takeoff, the aircraft crossed into Venezuelan airspace and entered a kill zone. Below, deep within the dense jungles east of La Guaira, La Sombra del Orinoco was already in position, waiting. A sharp voice came over the cartel commander's radio. The target has arrived. Engage. With chilling precision, 59K-38. Igla infrared guided missiles launched into the sky, each with a 2.8 nautical mile range and racing at nearly Mach 1.4. Every missile carried a 1.3 kilogram warhead, engineered to detonate within 5 meters of its target. Inside the MD-11F cockpit, warning lights flashed red, alarms screamed. Captain Daniel Reese froze as 5 radar signals closed in fast. "Evasive now!" he shouted. The aircraft banked hard left. The first missile missed by only 14 feet, 4.3 meters. The second detonated early, rocking the jet with a shockwave. But the third didn't miss. It struck engine 3, detonating on impact. Fire engulfed the right wing. Another missile slammed into the rear fuselage near Cargo Bay 17, piercing crates that held encrypted satellite modules. The cabin descended into chaos. Cabin pressure spiked to 2,400 pounds per square inch, shredding metal panels and rupturing the oxygen system. Shrapnel ripped through the frame. Flames tore across the fuselage. Of the 20 people aboard, 3 crew members died instantly. 4 logistics staff were blown from the aft compartment. 11 others suffered critical injuries, third-degree burns over 60% of their bodies, or smoke inhalation in near-zero visibility. At 5:30 p.m., the MD-11F exploded mid-air at 14,200 feet, scattering debris across 3.8 miles of dense Venezuelan jungle. The blast was so powerful it triggered seismic sensors at a U.S. Navy outpost in Curacao, 300 miles away. Within minutes, reconnaissance satellites captured the wreckage. A message pulsed through NORAD's Eastern Command. U.S. aircraft down. Coordinated missile strike. Probable hostile action. American casualties confirmed. The signal reached the Pentagon Situation Room. Inside, red alert lights glared. The entire manifest, $73.4 million in advanced cargo, was gone or compromised. Among the items, military-grade encryption modules, biomedical prototypes, and multiband satellite transceivers. The flight to Colombia had become the largest airborne attack on a U.S. cargo carrier since 9/11, and Washington was already preparing to strike back. For the first time in decades, an American civilian aircraft has been shot down by foreign missiles. Should America strike back immediately, or wait for proof? Tell me what you believe the U.S. should do next. Your opinion might surprise others. 5:41 p.m. Pentagon Situation Room, Washington, D.C. Within 3 minutes after the MD-11F disintegrated, 6 U.S. reconnaissance satellites and 4 naval radar arrays registered a flash exceeding 7.8 gigajoules, the thermal equivalent of 1.9 tons of TNT. The feed hit the Pentagon's secure display at 5:47 p.m. sharp. The image was unmistakable. An American aircraft, airborne fireball at 9,000 feet, coordinates 10 degrees 36 minutes north, 66 degrees 56 minutes west, origin confirmed, Venezuelan launch zone. A single line of dialogue broke the silence. Confirmed hostile fire on a U.S. civilian carrier. That was all Admiral Alvin Halsey, commander of U.S. Southern Command, needed to hear. His order was simple: activate iron response. Full authority. Execute. The command was relayed through 5 command nodes in 43 seconds. At Curacao Air Base, 480 miles north of Venezuela's coast, 2 CH-47F Chinooks spooled up, their rotors producing a combined 21,000 horsepower. Each bird carried 25 Navy SEALs, 1.2 tons of gear, and 18,000 rounds, including 60 bunker-buster M141 rockets. Farther east, in the dark Caribbean waters, USS Liberty, DDG-108, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer valued at $2.2 billion, opened its Mk-41 vertical launch system. At 6:02 p.m., 4 Tomahawk Block 5 cruise missiles, each priced at $7.4 million and fitted with 1,000-pound warheads, launched at Mach 0.9 toward Venezuela's coast. Range, 620 miles. Time to target, 7 minutes 30 seconds. Primary target, The fortified cartel complex outside La Guaira, believed to shelter over 40 fighters, stockpiles of weapons, and stolen U.S. technology. The same compound that had jammed the UPS crew's communications. At 6:09 p.m., confirmation came over the encrypted channel. The U.S. force is airborne. Target area is hot and directly ahead. From flash to response, Washington had converted outrage into action. 22 minutes from explosion to kinetic retaliation, a message sent in iron and fire. Stay with me, because the next 7 minutes will change everything you thought you knew about U.S. retaliation. 6:18 p.m. La Guaira Highlands, Venezuela. Orders from Admiral Alvin Halsey reached the bridge of USS Liberty and were passed to the ship's commanders. His voice was terse. No hesitation. Strike now. Below decks, sailors moved to their stations and initiated the missile systems. The first Tomahawk hit at 6:18 p.m. The explosion released 7.3 gigajoules of energy, the equivalent of 1.75 tons of TNT, vaporizing 40,000 gallons of diesel fuel in a single instant. The shockwave shattered more than 1,200 windows across La Guaira and knocked out power to 11,000 homes. 7 seconds later, the second missile struck the cartel's radio tower, a concrete blockhouse that vanished in a blinding flash. Inside the chaos, 42 armed fighters scrambled for cover. From the east, 2 CH-47F Chinooks appeared on radar at 6:23 p.m., flying low at 120 knots, altitude 300 feet. Each helicopter carried 25 Navy SEALs armed with M4A1 carbines, M141 rockets, and 18,000 rounds of ammunition. The rotor wash swept through fire and debris as they entered the kill zone. At 6:25 p.m., ropes dropped. 12 SEALs fast roped onto the outer yard. The second team landed on the northern perimeter. The first gunfire exchange lasted 45 seconds. Enemy rounds, 7.62 millimeter tracers at 2,800 feet per second, sliced through the night, hitting 2 cargo trucks and igniting 5,000 liters of gasoline. The SEALs replied with precision, 4 bursts, 4 targets down. A cartel gunner opened up with a DSHK 12.7 millimeter heavy machine gun, firing more than 400 rounds per minute toward the south gate. 1 SEAL fired a single M141 rocket. The blast scattered the gun and crew across 30 yards. Overhead, the USS Liberty's AN/SPY-1D radar tracked movement near the coastline. At 6:29 p.m., a final missile strike landed 400 meters behind the compound, detonating 500 pounds of high explosive and sealing every escape route. By 6:37 p.m., the battle was over. In 12 minutes, 40 seconds, the base was annihilated. 12 fighters killed, 23 captured, 6 vehicles destroyed, and 3 warehouses leveled. SEALs recovered 11 crates of stolen U.S. technology, 600 kilograms of cocaine, and $4.3 million in cash, all cataloged within 9 minutes before extraction. The radio crackled one final time. Objective secured. 0 American casualties. As the Chinooks lifted off, the Venezuelan coast glowed red behind them, a burn scar visible from 9 miles offshore. America's answer to terror had lasted less than an hour and changed the map of La Guaira forever. November 5th, 2025, 7 a.m., Washington, D.C. By sunrise, the Venezuelan coast was still burning. Satellite imagery from NOAA-21 showed thermal hotspots exceeding 2,400 degrees Fahrenheit, 1,315 degrees Celsius, enough to melt steel. What had been a fortified smuggler base 12 hours earlier was now a blackened crater stretching 300 yards wide. Out of 42 cartel combatants, 12 were confirmed dead, 23 captured, and 7 missing, presumed buried under debris. In the Pentagon's early briefing, Admiral Alvin Halsey summarized the results in one sentence: no American casualties. Objective neutralized. Message delivered. Damage reports from the attack on the UPS freighter were staggering. The MD-11F, valued at $200 million, was reduced to wreckage scattered across 2.3 square miles of coastline. The destruction of 141,000 pounds of jet fuel released an estimated 1.9 tons of TNT equivalent energy, visible from 47 miles away. Total economic loss: $48.7 million in cargo, plus $6.4 million in airport infrastructure damages. Forensic investigators confirmed the missiles were 9 K-38 Igla-S launchers, Russian-made, smuggled into Venezuela through a covert network spanning 4 countries. Tracing the serial codes led intelligence analysts to an encrypted transaction: $12.8 million transferred from offshore accounts in Curaçao to a front company tied to a Venezuelan militia commander. It wasn't piracy, it was state-enabled terrorism. The SEAL raid's recovery data was equally shocking: 11 crates of stolen U.S. technology, including classified communication chips meant for naval radars. Those components alone could compromise an entire fleet's encryption system. The discovery triggered a Level 4 cyber alert across the Department of Defense, the highest since SolarWinds 2020. At 9 a.m., President Eleanor Strauss addressed the nation from the Oval Office. Her words were calm, deliberate, final. This was not an accident. It was an attack on American commerce, American workers, and American sovereignty. The United States will not look away. Across news networks, the footage played: the fireball, the Chinooks, the black smoke over La Guaira. By 10 a.m., the Venezuelan government denied involvement, but Washington had already drawn its line. Sanctions on 3 defense ministers, 5 military accounts frozen, and 2 naval bases placed under surveillance by U.S. reconnaissance drones. And as the day ended, one truth became clear: America had lost 7 lives in 1 plane, but reclaimed its deterrence. Attack an American aircraft once, and you won't have an airfield left to hide. The world woke to headlines written in smoke. Satellite images of La Guaira showed what no diplomat could deny: a half-square-mile crater, still burning at 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit, the Venezuelan coastline disfigured by the impact of 4 Tomahawk missiles and 12 minutes of close-quarters combat. The price was counted in hard numbers: 7 Americans dead, 11 wounded, a $200 million aircraft lost, and a message that cost $31 million in munitions to deliver. But it was delivered. Across the Atlantic, defense analysts called it the fastest coordinated U.S. counterstrike since 1988, 22 minutes from explosion to retaliation. In the Caribbean, fishermen found fragments of the destroyed smuggler base, twisted barrels, scorched radios, and the melted husks of Russian-made Igla-S launchers. The recovered weapon codes matched a shipment traced through 4 ports, proof that the attack had not been random, but engineered. At 8 a.m., the U.S. flag at Dover Air Force Base flew at half-mast. 7 caskets arrived, quiet, polished, carried by men who understood that deterrence often begins with tragedy. Behind closed doors, the Pentagon confirmed Operation Iron Response had destroyed 3 weapons depots, disrupted $48 million in black market trade, and exposed 12 financial channels tied to foreign intelligence. For the public, one image endured: the MD-11F's final contrail, a burning arc against the evening sky. It became a reminder, not of weakness, but of vigilance. Because in the calculus of modern warfare, numbers aren't just data. They are warnings written in steel and flame. And as dawn broke over Washington, one truth remained unshaken: America does not forget. It calculates, responds, and ensures the next strike never comes. If you value this kind of analysis and want to keep uncovering the real lessons behind today's conflicts, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue bringing you the untold stories of modern warfare.